And Shabbat Shalom, and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube live stream. My name is Adam, your host, and I welcome you. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Hadassah, Esther, the story of Purim, which, depending on what calendar you follow, if you're watching this live, the calendar at least I follow, this is the time of Purim. Now, I will say right off the bat, Purim is not one of the commanded feast days commanded by the Most High himself that we get through the book of Leviticus, where it lays out all the feast days, and of course, all throughout the Torah we get it. But this is not one of those feast days. I look at Purim very similarly to Hanukkah, the story of Hanukkah with the book of Maccabees. I believe the book of Esther is scripture. I believe the book of Maccabees is scripture. Therefore, I do believe that these were two major events, and not to be held in the same regard as the seven feast days, and by the seven feast days, I mean the Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, Shavuot, Yom Teruah, Day of Atonement, Sukkot. So I don't look at them as the same as on the same level as those, but certainly, I don't think there's anything wrong with every year on the date that's specified in the scriptures to read these scriptures and praise Yah for the deliverance that he gave his people. So the book of Esther itself has come under a lot of scrutiny in and of itself because in the Masoretic text, and when I say Masoretic text, that's the basis of the text for some of the most populars out there, like the King James, the ESV, the RSV, the TLV, the ISR, many others, even the Sefer, the scripture, the canon that we love. Even all those are based off the Masoretic, and in the Masoretic, there's actually no mention of the Most High whatsoever, and it's very peculiar. Also, the Book of Esther was really one of the only ones in the canon that wasn't found in the Dead Sea Scrolls collections. Now, that doesn't really mean anything on its own, but it always was kind of I was curious as to why that was, but. The interesting thing is when you look at the older manuscripts, such as the Greek Septuagint, which is roughly 200 BC, comparing to the Masoretic, which is 900 AD. That's a 1100 year difference. The Septuagint is 1100 years older. When you look at the Septuagint version of Esther, it's a whole different story, and that's what we're going to read from tonight. And the Sefer does actually have the full Esther story that we'll be reading tonight. However, we didn't have that online tonight, so that we couldn't screen share it. So we're going to be reading from the Greek Septuagint tonight, and I think what you'll find is it fills a lot of those holes where the Most High is definitely mentioned in here, and the deliverance is 100% comes from the Most High himself, and not just through the piety of Esther and Mordecai. Well, that's obviously part of it. I'm not discounting what they did. They did things way more amazing than I've ever done, you or I have ever done. But it's clear that the deliverance comes from the Most High, and the Septuagint version makes that abundantly clear. Plus the Targums as well. As you all know, we've been testing the Aramaic Targums lately. Aramaic Targums are estimated somewhere around 450 BC, so had the opportunity to read the Targums of Esther as well, and I'm not going to read that for you tonight, but I was able to glean a few things, and it's interesting that the Aramaic Targums actually lines up very closely to the Greek Septuagint version we'll be reading tonight. So without further delay, let's do a couple things. Let's pray to the Most High and thank him for this gathering, whether you're watching this live or as a recording, and ask him to bless this study, and we'll move on. So, Heavenly Father, YHWH, Most High, we come before you in your Son, Yahusha's name, and we thank you first and foremost for sending your Son that we may have life and forgiveness through his offering, through his blood, that we may be reconciled back to you. And we thank you for sending him that he showed us the true way, the way to walk in spirit and in truth. And we bless you. We thank you for opening our eyes to the goodness of your commandments, especially this Shabbat, and the Shabbat happens to also be on Purim. And so we bless you and thank you for the deliverance that you gave your people many years ago. And, we just thank you for all the lessons that you've given us through your word. In Yahusha's name, amen and amen. So let's do a quick shofar blast, and we'll get on with the scripture reading. Let everything that has breath praise Yahweh. So first, we're going to start with a few quick verses from the book of Sirach, aka Ecclesiasticus, and we're going to read just a few verses here in chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 1. Actually, we'll read chapter 2. It's really good. It ties into tonight. Tonight is all about looking at the generations of old and seeing that they, even though in facing death, they trusted in Yahweh, and Yahweh delivered every time. So, chapter 2. My son, if you come to serve Yahweh, prepare your soul for temptation. Probably a little better word for our day is tribulation or trial. So, if you come to serve Yahweh, prepare your soul for trial. And some of you already know what I'm talking about here. Set your heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. Cleave unto him, and depart not away, that you may be increased at your last end. Whatsoever is brought upon you, take cheerfully. That's hard. That's easier said than done, but something we really need to walk out. If you need an example, boy, oh boy, just look at the story of Abraham. And be patient when you are changed to a low estate, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help you. Order your way aright, and trust in him. Ye that fear Yahweh, wait for his mercy, and go not aside, lest ye fall. Ye that fear Yahweh, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. Ye that fear Yahweh, hope for good, and for everlasting joy and mercy. Now this is a powerful passage right here. This is what tonight's all about. Look at the generations of old, and see, did ever any trust in Yahweh, and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear, and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Except for those that gave him lip service, and their heart was far from him. For Yahweh is full of compassion and mercy, long-suffering, and very pitiful, and forgives sins, and saves in times of affliction. That's what tonight's all about. Woe to be fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goes two ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believes not, therefore shall he not be defended. Woe unto you that have lost patience, and what will you do when Yahweh shall visit you? They that fear Yahweh will not disobey his word, and they that love him will guard his ways. They that fear Yahweh will seek that which is well, pleasing unto him, and they that love him shall be filled with the Torah. They that fear Yahweh will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight, saying, We will fall into the hands of Yahweh, and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy. And with that, we'll get here. We're going to be reading from the Brenton Septuagint translation, and we'll be going down here to Esther. And so with that, sorry, we're 9 minutes in, and we're just now getting to the book of Esther. I apologize, but hey, we just wanted a few things I wanted to cover beforehand. So again, happy Purim. Let's read all about this day. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes, the great king, on the 1st day of Nisan, this is Mordecai. We'll just say Mordecai. I think everybody's familiar with Mordecai, so we'll be saying Mordecai tonight. The son of Jairus, the son of Simeas, the son of Cesus, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Jew dwelling in the city of Susa or Shusha, a great man serving in the king's palace, saw a vision. Now he was of the captivity which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried captive from Jerusalem with Jeconias, the king of Judea. Now, I'm going to pause there really quickly because I want to show you a neat little passage in the Targums that actually gives you the full lineage of Mordecai. And you'll see there's an interesting storyline when you look at the full lineage of Mordecai and the full lineage of Haman, who is the enemy in this story. You'll see here it's the battle of the two seed lines, at least the two seeds of Jacob. So here's the lineage of Mordecai per the Aramaic Targums. The righteous Mordecai, the brother of my father, son of Yair, son of Kish, son of Shimni, son of Baana, son of Menaah, son of Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, son of King Saul, son of Kish, son of Abiel, son of Ephiah, son of Uzziah, son of Michael, son of Elil, son of Amihud, son of Pethuel, son of Yerubal, son of Yeroham, son of Elipal, son of Shimri, son of Naaman, son of Benjamin, son of Jacob, son of Isaac, son of Abraham. So that's the lineage of Mordecai. And Corey, if the Targums are correct, which in testing them so far, I've been pretty pleased with the Targums. I believe they are correct. He's the son of Benjamin, son of King Saul, son of Mephibosheth, one of the sons of Jonathan that King David protected. So let's move on. Later we'll talk about, when we get to Haman, we'll talk about Haman's lineage. So he had a dream, right? And this was his dream. Behold, voices and a noise, thunders and earthquake and tumult upon the earth. And behold, two great serpents, or different translations say two great dragons, came forth, both ready for conflict. And there came from them a great voice, and by their voice every nation was prepared for battle, even to fight against the nation of the just. And behold, a day of darkness and blackness, tribulation and anguish, affliction, and great tumult upon the earth. And all the righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own afflictions, and they prepared to die, and cried to Elohim. And from their cry there came, as it were, a great river from a little fountain, even much water. And light, and the sun arose, and the lowly were exalted, and devoured the honorable. So this is an interesting dream here, right? It sees two dragons, or two serpents, and you can see here, this is, we'll find out here later, this dream was specifically for Mordecai, but you can see that this obviously has some end times connotations to it. And so I want to talk maybe really briefly about these two dragons. Let's look at Revelation 13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet as the feet of the bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and seat and great authority. And so, not to get too deep into this, but if you want to look a little deeper into this during our Revelation study, especially when we are at Revelation 13, we dug into this pretty deep. But long story short, these are this beast is a conglomeration of all 4 of the beasts that Daniel saw in his vision. And so really what you see here is a one world order. This is the world coming together as one to unite against Messiah and his kingdom. But more importantly here, it says the dragon gave that system its power. So the dragon was the force behind it. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Again, we go deep into this in our Revelation line-by-line series. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue in 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, this New Jerusalem, and them that dwell in heaven. And then, so here we go. Just to skip down here. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So here you have 2 beasts that are either fueled by the dragon, or likened unto a dragon, or speak like a dragon. And so you definitely have some end times feel about what's going on here. And in the language here, you see it's behold, a day of darkness and blackness and tribulation and affliction and a great tumult upon the earth. And while again, this definitely has some a lot of particular prophecy about what we'll see here in tonight's reading of Esther, it really has a lot of end times feel to it. And forgive me, I really want to go into this really quickly, and then we'll go straight into the story. So, about this day of anguish and tribulation, but deliverance from the Most High. And this is Enoch 96. Be hopeful, ye righteous, for suddenly shall the sinners perish before you, and you shall have lordship over them according to your desires. And in the day of the tribulation of the sinners, right? It's the tribulation to try those that dwell upon the earth, those that have denied him, those that have that were not ready. Your children shall mount and rise as eagles, and higher than the vultures will be your nest. And ye shall ascend and enter the crevices of the earth, and the clefts of the rock forever, as conies before the unrighteous. And the sirens shall sigh because of you, and weep not. So while it's going to be really a tough time for the wicked. It's going to be a great time for the righteous. Also, Enoch 50, and in those days a change shall take place for the holy and the elect, and the light of day shall abide upon them, and glory and honor shall turn to the holy on the day of affliction. Might as well call the day of tribulation, on the day of affliction, on which evil shall have been treasured up against the sinners, and the righteous shall be victorious in the name of YHWH, and he will cause the others to witness this, that they may repent and forego the works of the hands, the people that were not ready. So, again, the whole theme of what we're going to read tonight is it's like Yahweh allows this time of trial, this time of testing, this time of what looks like it's going to be utter defeat. It's all through the scriptures. What came just to mind real quickly was the days of Hezekiah. Hezekiah was a righteous king. They were righteous people. They were keeping the commandments. The Most High allowed Sennacherib to send Rabshakeh and his 185,000 man army to put them to the test, put Hezekiah and his people to the test. What were they going to do? Were they going to fold, or were they going to trust in the Most High? And they did. And in one night, the angel of Yahweh killed all 185,000, just like that, So that's the Elohim we serve, and, it's easier said than done, but quite frankly, whatever comes our way, whatever's next, whatever kind of trial that we have, because, brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you this is our time, and I don't think we've seen nothing yet. And when those days come, again, it's easy to say right now when we're kind of living in a peaceful time. Sure, we have some troubles, family and people persecute us because we want to keep the Torah, but we ain't seen nothing yet. And when our day comes, because this is our time, the Maccabees had their time. Abraham had his time. Jacob had his time. The patriarchs, they all had their time. Moshe had his time. Joshua had his time. We're going to have our time. So this tonight should really give us hope and encouragement to know that we serve the deliverer of the universe, of the world. 2 Esdras 27 through 47, we're not going to read all that. Do not be anxious, for when the day of tribulation and anguish comes, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but you shall rejoice and have abundance. That's not to say that leading up to this point, there might not be some scary times, right? Patriarchs got scared. Jacob got scared. When Esau came, when his 400 men with him, he was scared. He said, I fear of my brother Esau. But what did he do? He got on his knees and he prayed to the Most High and sought for deliverance from him. So do not be anxious, for when the day of tribulation comes and anguish comes, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but you shall rejoice and have abundance. The nations shall envy you, but they shall not be able to do anything against you, says Yahweh. My hands will cover you, that your sons may not see Gehenna. Rejoice, O mother, with your sons, because I will deliver you, says Yahweh. Remember your sons that sleep, because when I bring them out of hiding in the place of the earth, and will show them mercy to them, for I am merciful, says Yahweh. Embrace your children until I come and proclaim mercy to them, because my springs run over and my grace will not fail. So, all right, let's go back on with the story. So, again, what you see here, it's a day of darkness, blackness, tribulation, anguish, affliction, tumult. The righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own afflictions, prepared to die, cried to Elohim, but they were delivered. Okay, let's move on. And Mordecai, who had seen this vision and what Elohim designed to do, having awoke, kept it in his heart and desired by all means to interpret it, even until night. And Mordecai rested quiet in the place with Gabbatha and Thara, the king's 2 chamberlains, eunuchs who guarded the palace. And he heard their reasonings and searched out their plans and learnt that they were preparing to lay hands on King Artaxerxes. In the Targums, it says that Mordecai was wise in all 70 of the language, just like Joseph was. And so they didn't think that he knew all their languages. And according to the Targums, he heard their language and was able to see their secret plan to kill the king. And he informed the king concerning them. So he told him, he warned the king, hey, these guys are going to plan to kill you. And the king examined the 2 chamberlains, and they confessed and were executed. And the king wrote these things for a memorial. Also, Mordecai wrote concerning these matters. And the king commanded Mordecai to attend in the palace and gave him gifts for this service. And Aman, this is Haman. It's in the Septuagint, it says Aman, but we'll say Haman because most people are familiar with Haman. So in Haman, the son of Amathadas, the Bugain, was honorable in the sight of the king, and he endeavored to hurt Mordecai and his people because of the two chamberlains of the king. So now we see it gave us just a few names of the lineage of Haman. And so what we saw is that Mordecai is a son of Abraham, son of Isaac, son of Jacob. And we're gonna see who Haman is the son of. So according to the Targums, here is Haman, son of Hamadetha, son of Anna, son of Apolitus, son of Diosos, son of Piokos, son of Hamdan, son of Tilon, son of Antimos, son of Hadoses, son of Sheger, son of Parmashta, son of Vaista, son of Agag, son of Shumkar, son of Amalek, son of Eliphaz, son of Esau. So here we have the two, well, Esther is a main character, but the two enemies that butt heads here are Mordecai, son of Jacob, and Haman, son of Esau, son of Amalek even. Amalek, the wicked Amalek that we read about in the Torah, that his name is to be blotted out forever. So here we have Jacob versus Esau. And it came to pass after these things in the days of Artaxerxes. This Artaxerxes ruled over 127 provinces from India. In those days, when King Artaxerxes was on the throne in the city of Shusha, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast to his friends and the other nations, and to the nobles of the Persians and Medes and the chief of the satraps. And after this, after he had shown to them the wealth of his kingdom and the abundant glory of his wealth during 180 days, when, I say, the days of the marriage feast were completed, the king made a banquet to the nations who were present in the city 6 days, in the court of the king's house, which was adorned with hangings of fine linen and flax, on cords of fine linen and purple, fastened to golden and silver studs, on pillars of Parian marble and stone. There were golden and silver couches on a pavement of emerald stone. I wonder what that would actually look like a silver couch. I know in the Targum it said that Jacob laid on a golden couch. Anyways, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. And of pearl and of Parian stone and open worked coverings variously flowered, having roses worked round about, gold and silver cups, and a small cup of carbuncles set out of the value of 30,000 talents, abundant and sweet wine which the king himself drank. This banquet was not according to the appointed law, but so the king would have it, and he charged the stewards to perform his will and that of the company. Also, Aston. I don't know why Vashti's name, Queen Vashti, her name is Aston here in the Septuagint, but we'll just go with Vashti. And also, Vashti, the queen, made a banquet for the women in the palace where King Artaxerxes dwelt. Now on the 7th day the king, being merry, told Aman and Bazan and Tara and Barazi and Zatholta and Abatazah and Taraba, the 7 chamberlains, servants of King Artaxerxes, to bring the queen to him, to enthrone her and crown her with diadem, and to show her to the princes and her beauty to the nations, for she was beautiful. But Queen Vashti hearkened not to him to come with the chamberlains, so the king was grieved and angered. And so you ask yourself, why would she be so disobedient? It did say up here in the Septuagint that the king being merry. In the Targums, if I remember correctly, it said that he was kind of drunk, and he commanded Vashti to come and be naked before all the people. Again, still testing the Targums, but that kind of to me makes a little more sense, where she would be like, no. Otherwise, I think it's pretty well known if you disobey the king, it's like death, right? So I always wondered, why would she just... Maybe she was drunk. I don't know. Why would she just be so disobedient? So anyways, that's what the Targum says. It says that he was drunk with wine and commanded her to come appear naked. And she was like, no. And he said to his friends, "Thus has Vashti spoken. Pronounce therefore upon this case law and judgment." So Archisaeus and Sarasatheus and Malasir, the princes of the Persians and Medes, who were near the king, who sat chief in rank by the king, drew near to him, and reported to him according to the laws how it was proper to do to Queen Vashti, because she had not done the things commanded of the king by the chamberlains. And Mucius said to the king and to the princes, "Queen Vashti has not wronged the king only, but also the king's rulers and princes, for he has told them the words of the queen and how she disobeyed the king. And then," said he, "she refused to obey King Artaxerxes. So this day shall the other ladies of the chiefs of the Persians and Medes, having heard what she said to the king, dare in the same way dishonor their husbands. If then it seem good to the king, let him make a royal decree, and let it be written according to the laws of the Medes and Persians, and let him not alter it. And let not the queen come in to him any more, and let the king give her royalty to a woman better than she. And let the Torah, or the law of the king, which he shall have made, be widely proclaimed in his kingdom, and so shall all the women give honor to their husbands, from the poor even to the rich." And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did as Mucius had said, and sent into all his kingdom through the several provinces according to their language, in order that men might be feared in their own houses. Chapter 2, the book of Esther. And after this, the king's anger was pacified, and he no more mentioned Vashti, bearing in mind what she had said and how he had condemned her. Then the servants of the king said, "Let there be sought for the king chaste and beautiful young virgins, and let the king appoint local governors in all the provinces of his kingdom, and let them select fair and chaste young damsels, and bring them to the city of Shusha, into the women's apartment, and let them be consigned to the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, and let things for purification and other attendance be given to them. And let the woman who shall please the king be queen instead of Vashti." The thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now there was a Jew in the city of Shusha. His name was Mordecai, the son of Jairus, the son of Semias, the son of Siseas, of the tribe of Benjamin, who had been brought a prisoner from Jerusalem, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried into captivity. And he had a foster child, the daughter of Aminadab, his father's brother, and her name was Esther. And when her parents were dead, he brought her up for a wife for himself, and the damsel was beautiful. And because the king's ordinance, the other versions say daughter, brought her up as a daughter for himself. And because the king's ordinance was published, many damsels were gathered into the city of Shusha under the hand of Gai. And Esther was brought to Gai, the keeper of the women, and the damsel pleased him, and she found favor in his sight. And he hasted to give her the things for purification, and her portion, and the 7 maidens appointed her out of the palace. And he treated her and her maidens well in the women's apartment. But Esther discovered not her family nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her not to tell. But Mordecai used to walk every day by the women's court to see what would become of Esther. Now this was the time for a virgin to go in to the king, when she should have fulfilled 12 months. For so are the days of purification fulfilled, 6 months while they are anointing themselves with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with spices and women's purifications. And then the damsel goes in unto the king, and the officer to whomsoever he shall give the command will bring her to come in with him from the women's apartment to the king's chamber. She enters in the evening, and in the morning she departs to the second women's apartment, where Gai, the king's chamberlain, is keeper of the women, and she goes not into the king again, unless she should be called by name. And when the time was fulfilled for Esther, the daughter of Aminadab, the brother of Mordecai, father, to go into the king, she neglected nothing which the chamberlain, the woman's keeper, commanded. For Esther found grace in the sight of all that looked upon her. So Esther went to King Artaxerxes in the 12th month, which is Adar, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther, and she found favor beyond all the other virgins. And he put on her the queen's crown. And the king made a banquet for all his friends and great men for 7 days. And he highly celebrated the marriage of Esther. And he made a release to those who were under his dominion. But Mordecai served in the palace. Now Esther had not discovered her kindred, for so Mordecai commanded her, to fear Elohim and perform his commandments. For when she was with him, and Esther changed not after her manner. So here again, in the Masoretic version, you've got no mention of Elohim. Really, I don't even think even keeping the commandments. It's really strange. I will admit, and there's some people that will throw out the book of Esther because of that, and I understand that, but it's a shame that before they do that, they don't take a look at the Septuagint version, and really the Targums too. The Targums was amazing to read as well, and really it was a blessing to see that the Targums and the Septuagint really kind of lined up, and that really gave credibility, in my opinion, to both these texts. So here you have the mention of Elohim and keeping of his commandments. And Esther changed not her manner of life. And the two chamberlains of the kings, the chiefs of the bodyguards, were grieved because Mordecai was promoted, and they sought to kill King Artaxerxes. And the matter was discovered to Mordecai, and he made it known to Esther, and she declared to the king the matter of the conspiracy. The king examined the two chamberlains and hanged them, and the king gave orders to make a note for a memorial in the royal records of the good offices of Mordecai as a commendation. Chapter 3. And after this, King Artaxerxes highly honored Haman, son of Amadathis, the Bugian, and exalted him, and set his seat above all his friends. And all in the palace did him obeisance, for so the king had given orders to do. But Mordecai did not do him obeisance. And they in the king's palace said to Mordecai, said to Mordecai, Mordecai, why dost thou transgress the commandments of the king? And, it is interesting to find out, to know if, Mordecai obviously knew his lineage, and if he knew Haman's lineage, you've got this Jacob versus Esau thing. It's pretty clear, why Mordecai's like, you son of Amalek, you son of Esau, I'm not bowing down to you. So thus they spoke daily to him, but he hearkened not unto them. So they represented to Haman that Mordecai resisted the commands of the king, and Mordecai had shown to them that he was a Jew. And when Haman understood that Mordecai did not do obeisance to him, he was greatly enraged, and took counsel to destroy utterly all the Jews who were under the rule of Artaxerxes. And he made a decree in the 12th year of the reign of Artaxerxes, and cast lots daily and monthly to slay in one day the race of Mordecai. And the lot fell on the 14th day of the month, which is Adar. And again, according to the calendar, depending on what you look at, this is either the 14th or the 15th day of the 12th month. So this is around that time. And he spoke to King Artaxerxes, saying, there is a nation scattered among the nations in all thy kingdom, and their laws differ from those of all the other nations, and they disobey the laws of the king. And it is not expedient for the king to let them alone. If it seem good to the king, let him make a decree to destroy them, and I will remit into the king's treasury 10,000 talents of silver. And the king took off his ring, and gave it into the hands of Haman, to seal the decrees against the Jews. And the king said to Haman, keep the silver, and treat the nation as thou wilt. So the king's recorders were called in the first month, on the 13th day, as they wrote as Haman commanded to the captains and governors in every province, from India even to Ethiopia, to 127 provinces, and to the rulers of the nations according to their several languages, in the name of King Artaxerxes. And the message was sent by posts throughout the kingdom of Artaxerxes to destroy utterly the race of the Jews on the first day of the 12th month, which is Adar, and to plunder their goods. And the following is a copy of the letter. The great king Artaxerxes writes thus to the rulers and inferior governors of 127 provinces, from India even to Ethiopia, who hold authority under him, ruling over many nations, and having obtained dominion over the whole world. I was minded, not elated by the confidence of power, but ever conducting myself with great moderation and with gentleness, to make the lives of my subjects continually tranquil, desiring both to maintain the kingdom quiet and orderly to its utmost limits, and to restore the peace desired by all men. But when I had inquired of my counselors how this should be brought to pass, Haman, who excels in soundness of judgment among us, and has been manifestly well inclined without wavering and with unshaken fidelity, and has obtained the second post in the kingdom, informed us that a certain ill-disposed people is mixed up with all the tribes throughout the world, opposed in their laws to every other nation, and continually neglecting the commands of the kings, so that the united government blamelessly administered by us is not quietly established. Having then conceived that this nation alone of all others is continually set in opposition to every man, introducing as a change a foreign code of laws, and injuriously plotting to accomplish the worst of evils against our interests and against the happy establishment of the monarchy, we have accordingly appointed those who are signified to you in the letters written by Haman, who is set over the public affairs and is our second governor, to destroy them all utterly with their wives and children by the swords of their enemies, without pitying or sparing any, on the 14th day of the 12th month of Adar of the present year. That the people aforetime and now ill-disposed, to us having been violently consigned to death in one day, may hereafter secure to us continually a well-constituted and quiet affairs. So this is really, really interesting, because if you, hopefully you caught that, but what the letter was actually saying is that, listen, I've united the whole world under one kingdom, all in the name of peace and tranquility and security. But there's a certain people that don't abide by these rules and are troublesome to us and are against this unity. Brothers and sisters, as the world, if you notice the world, the direction it's going, especially during this this virus thing they've been talking about. It's like the underlying thing, the underlying narrative you see is unity. We're all in this together, coming together. I mean, this is something they've been doing for a long time. Global citizen, concerts, and we're stronger together. And quite frankly, looking back over the past centuries, I truly believe that the racism was done on purpose to come full circle in these last days. Everything's setting up for the last days to see, look what racism brings, look what it does, when most of it was, I think, perpetrated on purpose by the elites in order to formulate everything where we are now, because it's like, as they do, the Hegelian dialect, problem, reaction, solution. So they've created the problem. They're also offering up the reaction because they control all media, and, of course, offering the solution, which the solution is going to be for the whole world to unite under one banner, one government, one religion, one people. And that's what happened here in the time of Artaxerxes. And this is nothing new. This is the same thing that actually happened in the time of the Maccabees. Let me read this for you. First Maccabees 1:10-15. This is what the beasts do. If the Mede Persians, they were the second beast. The first beast was Babylon, was Nebuchadnezzar and his kingdom. The second beast was the Medes and the Persians, which is what we're reading about right tonight. They were the second beast. They were the second beast that has captivity over his people, starting from the vision of Daniel. The third beast, the Greeks, and the fourth, the Romans. And it's the same story every time. They get the world together and under one, in the name of peace and safety. But it makes the children of the Most High, at least his true children that keep his commandments, stick out like a sore thumb. Let's look at Antiochus Epiphanes, which I think most people would agree is an Antichrist type of figure. He came from the kingdoms of the Greeks, right? But I think anyway. So let's read this. So this is First Maccabees 1:10-15. From them, this is talking about the Greeks, from them came a sinful root, Antiochus Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king. He had been hostage in Rome. So this is kind of the start of Rome. He began to reign in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days, lawless men came forth from Israel and misled many, saying, "Let us go and make a covenant with the Gentiles round about us, for since we separated from them, many evils have come upon us." This proposal pleased them, and some of the people eagerly went to the king. He authorized them to observe the ordinances of the Gentiles. So they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem according to the Gentile custom, and removed the marks of circumcision, and abandoned the Holy Covenant. They joined with the Gentiles and sold themselves to do evil. Moving on a little further, same chapter, verses 41-53. Then the king wrote to, now this is where it's eerily close to the letter you just read or just listened to from King Artaxerxes, or really from Haman, but in the name of King Artaxerxes. Then the king wrote to his kingdom, to his whole kingdom, right? Because he had the whole world under his hand. So then the king wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. There it is again, a one world order, a one world religion, a one world uniting. So that all the kingdoms should be one people, and that each should give up his customs. All the Gentiles accepted by the command of the king, many even from Israel gladly adopted his religion. They sacrificed to idols and profaned the Sabbath. And the king sent letters by messengers to Jerusalem and to the cities of Judah, and he directed them to follow the customs strange to the land, to forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the sanctuary, to profane the Sabbaths and feasts, to defile the sanctuary and the priests, to build altars and sacred precincts and shrines for idols, to sacrifice swine and unclean animals, and to leave their sons uncircumcised. They were to make themselves abominable by everything unclean and profane, so they should forget the Torah and change all the ordinances, and whosoever does not obey the command of the king shall die. That's what just happened here with the letter from Haman in the name of Artaxerxes. In such words he wrote to his whole kingdom, and he appointed inspectors over all the people and commanded the cities of Judah to offer sacrifice city by city. Many of the people, everyone who forsook the Torah, joined them, and they did evil in the land, and they drove Israel into hiding into every place of refuge they had. Brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you from everything that I understand, which may not be much, is history is going to repeat itself. And just like the Maccabees had to flee out into the mountains and get away from all this, maybe the same is coming. All right, so we just finished the letter from Artaxerxes, very similar to the one from Antiochus, another one of the beasts. And the copies of the letters were published in every province, and an order was given to all the nations to be ready against that day. And the business was hastened, and that Shusha and the king and Haman began to drink, but the city was troubled. So just last thing about, while the world comes together, what does YHWH call us to do? Come out of her. Be separate. Be set apart. We can't be set apart by molding ourselves with the ways of the world. We just can't do it. It's not what we're called to do. And who knows how much time we have left here. I think most of us hope that every single feast day that comes from this point forward is the time of Yahushua comes, because I think you can make a good case for him coming back on any of them. Personally, I think it's Passover, and so obviously really excited for this Passover season. But, if we have a lot more time than we think, and, things could get really interesting, and we could start sticking out like a sore thumb. I don't want to get off on a huge rabbit trail, but after this virus thing is starting to die down a little bit, because the needle thing is becoming the hero, and all of a sudden the numbers are going down. But now you're starting to see, because they look at Mr. Bill G as like a prophet, like a modern day prophet, and so he prophesied this virus thing, and they're like, when are we going to learn our lessons to listen to him? So now it's climate stuff, and so I really have this sneaking suspicion that what Europe tried, where this blue laws were, it's a mandatory day of rest on Sunday. I really wonder if things are going to really take a full circle back, and the Sabbath day would become illegal. I don't know how they'd pull that off. It seems kind of far-fetched at this point, but hey, it's happened all throughout the history of time. I really believe that YHWH's Sabbath is his mark. And anyways, I don't want to go down to that rabbit trail, but so again, point being is we're called to be separate. We're not called to be mixed as one people with the world. We're not called to blend in with everybody. We are called to be separate. And the longer the things go on, and the more restrictions come into place, and more things come down the pike, the more we're going to stick out like a sore thumb. Chapter 4. But Mordecai, having perceived what was done, rent his garments, and put on sackcloth, and sprinkled dust upon himself. And having rushed forth through the open street of the city, he cried with a loud voice, "A nation that has done no wrong is going to be destroyed." And he came to the king's gate and stood, for it was not lawful for him to enter into the palace, wearing sackcloth and ashes. And in every province where the letters were published, there was a cry and lamentation and great mourning on the part of the Jews. They spread for themselves sackcloth and ashes. And the queen's maids and chamberlains went in and told her. And when she had heard what was done, she was disturbed. And she sent to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth, but he consented not. So Esther called for her chamberlain Acratheus, who waited upon her, and she sent to learn the truth from Mordecai. And Mordecai showed him what was done, and the promise which Haman had made the king of 10,000 talents to be paid into the treasury, that he might destroy the Jews. And he gave him the copy of the writing that was published in Shusha concerning their destruction, to show Esther, and told him to charge her to go in and entreat the king, and to beg him for the people, remembering, said he, the days of thy low estate, how thou wert nursed by my hand, because Haman, who holds the next place to the king, has spoken against us for death. Do thou call upon YHWH, and speak to the king concerning us, to deliver us from death. So Acratheus went in and told her all these words, and Esther said to Acratheus, go to Mordecai and say, all the nations of the empire know that whoever, man or woman, shall go into the king into the inner court uncalled, that person cannot live. Only to whomsoever the king shall stretch out his golden scepter, he shall live. And I have not been called to go into the king for these 30 days. And Acratheus reported to Mordecai all the words of Esther. Then Mordecai said to Acratheus, go and say to her, Esther, say not to thyself that thou alone will escape in the kingdom more than all the other Jews. For if thou shalt refuse to hearken on this occasion, help and protection will be to the Jews from another quarter. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows if you have been made queen for this very occasion? And Esther sent the man that came to her to Mordecai, saying, go and assemble the Jews that are in Shusha, and fast ye for me, and do not eat and drink for 3 days, night and day. And I also and my maidens will fast. Then I will go into the king contrary to the Torah, even if I must die. So Mordecai went and did all that Esther commanded him. And here, again, this is the stuff, this is just the meaty stuff you don't get in the Masoretic text, where, they're calling upon the Most High for deliverance, and you just don't get that in the canon for some reason. And he besought YHWH, making mention of all the works of YHWH, and he said, YHWH Eloheinu, King ruling over all, for all things are in thy power, and there is no one that shall oppose thee in thy purpose to save Israel. For thou hast made the heaven and the earth, and every wonderful thing in the world under heaven. And thou art YHWH of all, and there is no one who shall resist thee, YHWH. Thou knowest all things, thou knowest, YHWH, that it is not in insolence, nor haughtiness, nor love of glory, that I have done this, to refuse obeisance to the haughty Haman. For I would gladly have kissed the soles of his feet for the safety of Israel. But I have done this, that I might not set the glory of man above the glory of Elohim. And I will not worship anyone except thee, my YHWH. And I will not do these things in haughtiness. And now, O YHWH Eloheinu, the King, the Elohim of Abraham, spare thy people. For our enemies are looking upon us to our destruction, and they have desired to destroy thine inheritance, the ancient inheritance. Do not overlook thy peculiar people, whom thou hast redeemed for thyself out of the land of Egypt. Hearken to my prayer, and be propitious to thine inheritance, and turn our mourning into gladness, that we may live and sing praise to thy name, O YHWH, and do not utterly destroy the mouth of them that praise thee, O YHWH. And all Israel cried with all their might, for their death was before their eyes. And Queen Esther betook herself for refuge to YHWH, being taken, as it were, in the agony of death. And having taken off her glorious apparel, she put on garments of distress and mourning. And instead of grand perfumes, she filled her head with ashes and dung. And she greatly brought down her body, and she filled every place of her glad adorning with the torn curls of her hair. And she besought YHWH Elohim of Israel and said, O my YHWH, thou alone art king. Help me who am destitute and have no helper but thee. For my danger is near at hand. I have heard from my birth in the tribe of my kindred that you, YHWH, took Israel out of all nations and our fathers out of all their kindred for a perpetual inheritance, and hast wrought for them all that thou hast said. And now we have sinned before thee, and thou hast delivered us into the hands of our enemies. because we honored their gods. Thou art righteous, O Yahweh. But now they have not been contented with the bitterness of our slavery, but have laid their hands on the hands of their idols in order to abolish the decree of thy mouth, and to utterly destroy thine inheritance, and to stop the mouth of them that praise thee, and to extinguish the glory of thine house and thine altar, and to open the mouth of the Gentiles to speak the praises of vanities, in order that a mortal king should be admired forever. O Yahweh, do not resign thy scepter to them that are not, and let them not laugh at our fall, but turn their counsel against themselves, and make an example of him who has begun to injure us. Remember us, O Yahweh, manifest in the time of our affliction, and encourage me, O King of Elohims, and ruler of all dominion. Put harmonious speech into my mouth before the lion, and turn his heart to hate him that fights against us, to the utter destruction of him and of them that consent with him. But deliver us by thine hand, and help me who am destitute, and have none but thee, O Yahweh. Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest that I hate the glory of transgressors, and that I abhor the couch of the uncircumcised, and of every stranger. Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhorred the symbol of my proud station, which is upon my head in the days of my splendor. I abhor it as a menstruous cloth, and I wear it not in the days of my tranquility. And thy handmaid has not eaten at the table of Haman, and I have not honored the banquet of the king, neither have I drunk the wine of libations, neither has thy handmaid rejoiced since the day of my promotion until now, except in thee, O Yahweh Eloheinu of Abraham, O Elohim, who hast power over all. Hearken to the voice of the desperate, and deliver us from the hand of them that devise mischief, and deliver me from my fear. Now, if that's not an amazing prayer, boy, oh boy. So you were looking for the meat. You were looking for the relying on the Most High. You were looking for the name of the Most High in the book of Esther. Here it is. Chapter 5. And it came to pass on the third day, when she had ceased praying, that she put off her mean dress, and put on her glorious apparel, and being splendidly arrayed, and having called upon the Elohim, the overseer and preserver of all things, she took her 2 handmaids, and she leaned upon one as a delicate female, and the other followed, bearing her train. And she was blooming in the perfection of her beauty, and her face was cheerful, as it were benevolent, but her heart was straitened for fear. And having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, and he was sitting upon his royal throne, and he had put on all his glorious apparel, covered all over with gold and precious stones, and was very terrible. And having raised his face resplendent with glory, he looked with intense anger. And the queen fell and changed her color as she fainted, and she bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. But Elohim changed the spirit of the king to gentleness. And in intense feeling he sprang from off his throne and took her into his arms until she recovered. And he comforted her with peaceable words and said to her, What is the matter, Esther? I am thy brother. Be of good cheer. Thou shalt not die, for our command is openly declared to thee. Draw nigh. And having raised the golden scepter, he laid it upon her neck and embraced her and said, Speak to me. And she said to him, I saw thee, my lord, as an angel of Elohim, and my heart was troubled for fear of thy glory, for thou, my lord, art to be wondered at, and thy face is full of grace. And while she was speaking, she fainted and fell. Then the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her. And the king said, What wilt thou, Esther? And what is thy request? Ask even to the half of my kingdom, and it shall be thine. And Esther said, Today is my great day. If then it seem good to the king, let both him and Haman come to the feast which I will prepare this day. And the king said, Hasten, Haman, hither, that we may perform the word of Esther. So they both come to the feast of which Esther had spoken. And at the banquet the king said to Esther, What is thy request, Queen Esther? Speak, and thou shalt have all that thou requirest. And she said, My request and my petition are, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, let the king and Haman come again tomorrow to the feast which I shall prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do the same. So Haman went out from the king very glad and merry, but when Haman saw Mordecai the Jew in the court, he was greatly enraged. And having gone into his own house, he called his friends and his wife Zosara, and he showed them his wealth, and the glory with which the king had invested him, and how he had caused him to take precedence and bear chief rule in the kingdom. So he's like sitting there prideful, boasting about himself, right? And Haman said, the queen has also called no one to the feast with the king but me, and I am invited tomorrow. But these things please me not while I see Mordecai the Jew in the court. And Zosair his wife and his friend said to him, let there be a gallows made for thee of 50 cubits, and in the morning do thou speak to the king, and let Mordecai be hanged on the gallows. But do thou go into the feast with the king and be merry. And the saying pleased Haman, and the gallows was prepared. Chapter 6. But YHWH removed sleep from the king that night, and he told his servant to bring in the books, the registers of daily events, to read to him. In the Targums, it says that the Most High put a sleeplessness and restlessness in him to provoke him to open up the records. So YHWH removed sleep from the king that night, and he told his servants to bring the books, the registers of the daily events, to read to him. So like the book of the Chronicles of the Kings, And he found the records written concerning Mordecai, how he had told the king concerning the 2 chamberlains of the king when they were keeping guard and sought to lay hands on Artaxerxes. And the king said, what honor or favor have we done to Mordecai? And the king's servant said, thou hast not done anything to him. And while the king was inquiring about the kindness of Mordecai, behold, Haman was in the court. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come in to speak to the king that he should hang Mordecai on the gallows, which he has prepared. And the king's servant said, behold, Haman stands in the court. And the king said, call him. And the king said to Haman, what shall I do to the man whom I wish to honor? And Haman said within himself, who would the king honor but myself? And he said to the king, as for the man whom the king wishes to honor, let the king's servants bring the robe of fine linen which the king puts on, and the horse on which the king rides, and let him give it to one of the king's noble friends, and let him array the man whom the king loves, and let him mount him on the horse, and proclaim through the streets of the city, saying, thus shall it be done to every man whom the king honors. Then the king said to Haman, thou hast well said. So do to Mordecai the Jew, who awaits in the palace, and let not a word of what thou hast spoken me be neglected. Right? So, yeah. So Haman comes in to tell the king and to hang Mordecai, and everything, it seems as the number 2 guy, the king listens to everything Haman is saying. So what Haman meant for evil, YHWH just whipped it around and used it for good. So Haman took the robe and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and mounted him on the horse and went through the streets of the city and proclaimed, saying, thus shall it be done to every man whom the king wishes to honor. And Mordecai returned to the palace, and it said that when he came back, he immediately took, and the Targum said immediately he took off his robes and went right back to his sackcloth. But Haman went home mourning and having his head covered. And Haman related the events that had befallen him to Zosair his wife and to his friends. And his wife said to him, if Mordecai be of the race of the Jews, and thou hast begun to be humble before him, thou wilt assuredly fall, and thou wilt not be able to withstand him, for the living Elohim is with him. While they were yet speaking, the chamberlains arrived to hasten Haman to the banquet which Esther prepared. So remember, no matter what the enemy has planned for you, or even if one of your enemies has something planned for you, it's nothing in the sight of YHWH to be like, oh, you got this plan? Let me go ahead and confound your plans, because it ain't happening. You're not touching my chosen people. You're not touching those that keep my commandments, because as Psalm 91 says, his Torah shall be a buckler to those that keep his ways. So hallelujah to that. And so something we have to remember is nothing gets past YHWH. Nothing. He allows certain things. He even allows, bad things to happen, because, well, this is the fallen state that we're in. We transgressed the commandment in the garden, and it was appointed for us to have toil and a rough time, a rough go at it here sometimes. But again, at the end of the day, he does protect those that keep his commandments. So one thing you have to remember, Revelation 17:17 says, for Elohim hath put in their hearts, and this is talking about the kings of the nations that gathered together with the beast. So, for Elohim hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, and to the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled. And this is nothing new. We saw this with Pharaoh. The Most High said that I have hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he may not let you go. Because who knows, quite frankly, if Elohim hadn't continued to harden his heart, Pharaoh could have been done after Plague 3. But then we wouldn't have had, the whole story of the Passover, and we wouldn't have had all the amazing things that all the nations heard what happened to Egypt. They all heard about it. We saw with Rahab, when the 2 spies that Joshua had sent to spy out Jericho, Rahab, had basically recited that they heard everything that happened in Egypt, everything. So Yahweh got renowned that way. But my point is that he hardened Pharaoh's heart, and so. We can talk all. I've been mentioning this quite a bit. We can get our get all twisted and upset about these so-called elite that run the world, and certainly they're playing their role. They're gonna get theirs, and it's like, again, these people haven't slipped anything past Yahweh. He knows exactly what's going on, and it says that he put it in their mind to do these things, right? Just like he put it in the mind of Assyria, to go take down the northern kingdom. He's like, you guys, you're not going to repent. You're not going to repent. I'm going to send my prophets. You're not going to repent. You're not going to repent. I'm going to take you down. So he put it in Assyria's mind to, Shalmaneser to go take him out. Same thing with Nebuchadnezzar. He put it in Nebuchadnezzar's mind, to go take down Jerusalem. My rebellious people, get them out of there. They don't belong here anymore. So, anyways, for the same reason, the evil that's come upon this earth, these things, this modern day Egypt that we live in, again, nothing has slipped past Yahweh's mind. But again, remember, he can use something that people. So while there's plans for a new world order and a one world religion and one world this and one. What, like we read in Sirach at the beginning, if you joined us in the beginning, I'm just paraphrasing, look at the generations of old and see if there's ever anyone that has trusted in Yahweh and has been confounded, right? No. So even if the whole world compassed around them and wanted to kill them, he delivered them. And that's exactly the story of Esther, and let's get back to the story of Esther. All right, so where we left off, Haman was upset because he went in to go kill Mordecai or have him hanged on the gallows that he put up in his own area, his own household. And as he was going up, the Most High put a ruach, a spirit, in Artaxerxes to search the books and to realize that he never rewarded Mordecai. And obviously he never rewarded Mordecai because it was to be kept in check until this time, to be a deliverance for Mordecai. So, you want the Most High to establish your mind and your thoughts. This is an amazing passage, Proverbs 16:1-3. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. All the ways of a man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the spirits. Commit thy works unto Yahweh, and thy thoughts shall be established. Right? So keep his ways, brothers and sisters. Trust and lean on him, and he will change your heart from within. He will give you what you will speak. Chapter 7. So the king and Haman went in to drink with the queen. And the king said to Esther at the banquet on the second day, What is it, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? And what is thy petition? And it shall be done for thee to the half of my kingdom. And she answered and said, If I have found favor in the sight of the king, let my life be granted to my petition, and my people to my request. For both I and my people are sold for destruction, and pillage, and slavery, both we and our children for bondmen and bondwomen. And I consented not to it, for the slanderer is not worthy of the king's palace. And the king said, Who is this that has dared to do this thing? And Esther said, The adversary. We know that the adversary is a term for Satan. Satan is the adversary, right? The adversary is Haman, this wicked man. Then Haman was troubled before the king and the queen. And the king rose up for the banquet to go into the garden. And Haman began to entreat the queen, for he saw that he was in an evil case. And the king turned from the garden, and Haman had fallen upon the bed, entreating the queen. And the king said, Wilt thou even force my wife in my house? And when Haman had heard, he changed his countenance. And Bugathan, one of the chamberlains, said to the king, Behold, Haman has also prepared a gallows for Mordecai, who spoke concerning the king, and a gallows of 50 cubits high has been set up in the premises of Haman. And the king said, let him be hanged on him. So Haman was hanged on the gallows that had been prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath was appeased. Brothers and sisters, while it may seem that the enemy has the grip and the upper hand, they don't. But, going back to that Sirach passage, it said, woe to those that are fearful and not trusting in the Most High. Again, you even saw Esther had fear here, but she trusted in the Most High. We talked about, Jacob, a righteous man. He feared. He said, I feared exceedingly for my brother Esau and for the 400 that were with him. But what did he do? He trusted in the Most High. There's a passage, there's a story in the book of Jasher, where Abraham was actually thrown into a fiery furnace by Nimrod. And, obviously Abraham was singleness in heart to the Most High, trusted him with all of his heart, soul, and mind. And Abraham walked in the fire for 3 days and 3 nights. But also his brother, Haran, his brother Haran was double-minded. He trusted in Yahweh, but he was also like, well, if Abraham survive, I'll follow the Most High. If Abraham does not survive, I'll follow Nimrod. So he was like half in, half out. And so they were both tossed in the fire. Haran died because he was not fully trusting in the Most High, whereas Abraham trusted fully in the Most High, and he was delivered. So, chapter 8. And in that day, King Artaxerxes gave to Esther all that belonged to Haman the slanderer. And Mordecai was called by the king, for Esther had shown that he was related to her. And the king took the ring which he had taken away from Haman and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed Mordecai over all that had been Haman's. And she spoke yet again to the king, and fell at his feet, and besought him to do away with the mischief of Haman, and all that he had done against the Jews. Then the king stretched out to Esther the golden scepter, and Esther arose to stand near to the king. And Esther said, If it seem good to thee, and if I have found favor in thy sight, let an order be sent that the letters sent by Haman may be reversed, that were written for the destruction of the Jews who are in thy kingdom. For how shall I be able to look upon the affliction of my people, and how shall I be able to survive the destruction of my kindred? And the king said to Esther, If I have given and freely granted thee all that was Haman's, and hanged him on the gallows, because he laid his hands upon the Jews, what dost thou yet further seek? Write ye also in my name, as it seems good to you, and seal it with my ring. For whatever orders are written at the command of the king, and sealed with my ring, it is not lawful to gainsay them. So the scribes were called in the first month, which is, the first month. The naming of the months was, not a good thing. First month, second month, third month. We don't need to get into all that. So called in the first month, on the 23rd day of the same year, and orders were written to the Jews, whatever the king had commanded to the local governors and chiefs of the satraps from India even to Ethiopia, 127 satraps according to the several provinces, according to their dialects. And they were written by order of the king and sealed with his ring, and they sent the letters by the posts, wherein he charged them to use their own laws in every city, and help each other, and to treat their adversaries, and those who attacked them as they pleased, on one day in all the kingdom of Artaxerxes, on the 13th day of the 12th month. And the following is the copy of the letter of the orders. The great king Artaxerxes send greetings to the rulers of provinces in 127 satrapies, from India to Ethiopia, even to those who are faithful to our interests. Many who have been frequently honored by the most abundant kindness of their benefactors have conceived ambitious designs, and not only endeavored to hurt our subjects, but moreover, not being able to bear prosperity, they also endeavor to plot against their own benefactors. So basically talking about, he's talking about Haman here, this sneaky sneak. Haman is being a little sneaky. And they not only would utterly abolish gratitude from among men, but also, elated by the boastings of men who are strangers to all that is good, they suppose that they shall escape the sin-hating vengeance of the ever-seeing Elohim. And oftentimes evil exhortation has made partakers of the guilt of shedding of innocent blood, and has involved in irremediable calamities many of those who were appointed to offices of authority, who had been entrusted with the management of their friends' affairs, while by the false sophistry of an evil disposition have deceived the simple candor of the ruling powers. And it is possible to see this not so much from more ancient traditionary accounts, as it is immediately in your power to see by examining what things have been wickedly perpetrated by the baseness of men unworthily holding power. And it is right to take heed with regard to the future, that we may maintain the government in undisturbed peace for all men, adopting needful changes and ever judging those cases which come under our notice with truly equitable decision. So a lot of big words there. Simply, he's talking about the sneaking, he's leading up to the sneakiness of Haman, which he's about to name him here in a second, about kind of sneaking in and doing these deceiving kind of things. And basically he's like, hey, sometimes we need to make some changes, right? So he's thinking to himself, I wrote this letter, now I got to write this letter right behind it saying that everything I just said before is wrong. So using eloquent words here, or I guess it was, Esther, but whatever. For whereas Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Amathetes, in reality an alien from the blood of the Persians, and differing widely from our mild course of government, having been hospitably entertained by us, obtained so large a share of our universal kindness as to be called our father, and to continue the person next to the royal throne, reverenced of all. He, however, overcome by the pride of his station, endeavored to deprive us of our dominion and our life, having by various and subtle artifices demanded for both destruction for both Mordecai our deliverer and perpetual benefactor, and Esther the blameless consort of our kingdom with their whole nation. And also, just to pause real quick, in the Targums it said that that Haman actually did have a plan to kind of take over. And I can't remember exactly what it was said, but he had some other sneaky plan for the king as well. For by these methods he thought, having surprised us in a defenseless state, to transfer the dominion of the Persians to the Macedonians, right? So right here, he wanted to take over the kingdom. But we find that the Jews, who have been consigned to destruction by the most abominable of men, are not malefactors, but living according to the justest laws. And we're going to go back to that in a second, and being the sons of the living Elohim, the Most High and Mighty, who maintains the kingdom to us as well as to our forefathers in the most excellent order. So let's pause there real quick. So he admits here, but living according to the justest laws, and that's something that, quite frankly, when Messiah, actually, it's Matthew 5, he told us to let our light shine before men. So think about this. When we keep the commandments of the Most High and doing it in the right way, in spirit and truth, not being jerks about it and be like, I'm keeping the Sabbath and you're not. I'm righteous and you're not. That's not going to do anything for anybody. They're going to be like, well, I definitely don't want to keep the Sabbath now if that's what it looks like. If that's what people that keep the Sabbath sound like. You know what I mean? So listen to this. This is Messiah talking about keeping the commandments, and when we do, being a light to the world. So this is Matthew 5. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So he's just saying right there, right? Like, do your good works of the Torah so that others may see it and glorify your Father in heaven. And in doing so, you'll be a light to the nations. Moving forward, though, it's talking about, Artaxerxes saying that this nation, the Jews, live by the justest laws. Deuteronomy 4:5-8. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my Elohim commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who hath Elohim so nigh unto them, as Yahweh our Elohim is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that hath statutes and judgments so righteous as all this Torah, which I set before you this day? So when kept the right way, not like the Pharisees and Sadducees did, because they were extortioners, they were whited sepulchres, appearing good on the outside, but just nasty on the inside, just not good people. So that's why Messiah came and taught us, brought us back to the truth about keeping the Torah in spirit and truth and doing it the right way, and not having all these man-made traditions that are just ridiculous, like, not flipping a light switch on Shabbat, and, not even getting up from the bed. If you do, you're breaking. Just ridiculous stuff. So anyways, point being is when the Torah is kept the right way, this is what it should be. Nations should be like, wow, what nation is there like this nation with such great and just laws? And so anyways, that's what was said here. So, right? But living according to the justice laws and being the sons of Elohim. So you will therefore do well in refusing to obey the letters sent by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, because he hath done these things and has been hanged with his whole family at the gates of Shusha. Almighty Elohim having swiftly returned to him a worthy recompense, we enjoin you then, having openly published a copy of this letter in every place, to give the Jews permission to use their own lawful customs, and to strengthen them, that on the 13th of the 12th month, on the selfsame day, that they may defend themselves against those who attack them in a time of affliction. For in the place of the destruction of the chosen race, Almighty Elohim has granted them this time of gladness. Do ye therefore also among your notable feasts keep a distinct day with all festivity, that both now and hereafter it may be a day of deliverance to us, those who are well disposed toward the Persians, but to those that plotted against us a memorial of destruction. And every city and province collectively, which shall not do accordingly, shall be consumed with vengeance by spear and fire. It shall be made not only inaccessible to men, but also to most hateful to wild beasts and birds forever. Let the copies be posted in conspicuous places throughout the kingdom, and let all the Jews be ready against this day to fight against their enemies. So the horsemen went forth with haste to perform the king's commands, and the ordinance was also published in Shusha. And Mordecai went forth robed in the royal apparel, and wearing a golden crown, and a diadem of fine purple linen. And the people in Shusha saw it, and rejoiced. And the Jews had light and gladness in every city and province, wherever the ordinance was published. Wherever the proclamation took place, the Jews had joy and gladness, feasting and mirth. And many of the Gentiles were circumcised, and became Jews for fear of the Jews. Look at that. Look at that. Chapter 9. So we're going to talk about that. So the people that were ready for destruction, there's a storyline there. The people that were ready to be destroyed by the enemy trusted in the Most High. Not only were they delivered, but Mordecai is a symbol of really the people in general being raised to royalty, right? We're going to talk a little bit more of that at the end. Chapter 9. For in the 12th month, on the 13th day of the month, which is Adar, the letters written by the king arrived. In that day the adversaries of the Jews perished, for no one resisted through fear of them. For the chiefs of the satraps and the princes and the royal scribes honored the Jews, for the fear of Mordecai lay upon them. For the order of the king was in force, that he should be celebrated in all the kingdom. And in the city Shusha the Jews slew 500 men, both Pharsanis and Delphon, Phazga, and Paradatha, Barea, and Sarbaka, and Marmasima, Ruphaeus, and Arceus, and Zabutheus, and 10 sons of Ammon, the sons of Amathadis, the Bugan, the enemy of the Jews, and they plundered their property on the same day. And the number of them that perished in Shusha was rendered to the king. And the king said to Esther, the Jews have slain 500 men in the city of Shusha. And how thinkest thou have they used them in the rest of the country? What then dost thou yet ask that it may be done for thee? And Esther said to the king, let it be granted to the Jews so to treat them tomorrow as to hang the 10 sons of Haman. And he permitted it to be so done, and he gave up to the Jews of the city the bodies of the sons of Haman to hang. And the Jews assembled in Shusha on the 14th day of Adar, and slew 300 men, but plundered no property. And the rest of the Jews who were in the kingdom assembled, and helped one another, and obtained rest from their enemies. For they destroyed 15,000 of them on the 13th day of Adar, but took no spoil. And they rested on the 14th day of the same month, which, again, depending on what calendar you're on, is right now, the 14th day of Adar, or 14th day of the 12th month, but took no spoil. And they rested on the 14th month of the same, and kept it as a feast day of rest, with joy and with gladness. And the Jews in the city of Shusha assembled also on the 14th day, and rested, and they kept also the 15th with joy and gladness. On this account, then, it is that the Jews dispersed in every foreign land keep the 14th of the 12th month as a holy day with joy, sending portions each to his neighbor. And Mordecai wrote these things in a book, and sent them to the Jews, as many as were in the kingdom of Artaxerxes, both them that were near and them that were far off, to establish these as joyful days, and to keep the 14th and 15th of Adar. For on these days the Jews obtained rest from their enemies. And as to the month, which was the 12th, in which a change was made for them, from mourning to joy, and from sorrow to a good day, to spend the whole of it in good days of feasting and gladness, sending portions to their friends and to the poor. The Jews consented to this accordingly as Mordecai wrote to them, showing them how Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Macedonian, fought against them, and how he made a decree and cast lots to destroy them utterly, and how he went into the king, telling him to hang Mordecai. But all the calamities he tried to bring upon the Jews came upon himself, and he was hanged. And his children, therefore, these days were called Purim, because of the lots, for in their language they are called Purim. Because of the words of this letter, and because of all they that suffered on this account, and all that happened to them, and Mordecai established it, and the Jews took upon themselves, and upon their seed, and upon those that were joined to them to observe it, neither would they on any account behave differently. But these days were to be a memorial kept in every generation, and city, and family, and province. And these days of Purim, they said, shall be kept forever, and their memorial shall not fail in any generation. And so we see the same notion that we see in the book of Maccabees. I believe the book of Maccabees is a true story. Can man decree a feast day to be kept for all generations? I don't know. I don't hold this day in the same regard as the Shabbat, the weekly Shabbat, or the 7 feasts of the Most High. But I don't think there's anything wrong with, again, we're on different calendars, but the calendar I'm on, this is the 14th day, the 12th month. I don't think there's anything wrong with every year reading this story and remembering what the kind of deliverance the Most High gave his people. Again, a people that trusted in him with all their heart, soul, and mind, and put their faith in him, and he delivered them. I don't think there's anything wrong with memorializing that. But again, to hold it in the same regard, it's not a Sabbath. But, it's certainly it's something that can just be remembered every year. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And Queen Esther, the daughter of Aminadab, and Mordecai the Jew, wrote all that they had done, and the confirmation of the letter of Purim. And Mordecai and Esther the queen appointed a fast for themselves privately, even at the time, also having formed their plan against their own health. And Esther established it by command forever, and it was written for a memorial. Chapter 10. And the king levied a tax upon his kingdom, both by land and sea. And as for his strength and valor, and the wealth and glory of his kingdom, behold, they are written in the book of the Persians and Medes for a memorial. And Mordecai was viceroy to the king Artaxerxes, and was a great man in the kingdom, and honored by the Jews, and passed his life beloved of all his nation. And Mordecai said, These things have been done of Elohim, for I remember the dream which I had concerning these matters, for not one particular of them has failed. So now, if you join us at the beginning, now we're going to get an interpretation. I kind of shared, just some small things of interpretation for an end times scenario, but now Mordecai is going to give the interpretation of the dream he had, particularly for this situation. So there was the little fountain, which became a river, and there was light and sun and much water. The river is Esther, whom the king married and made queen. And the 2 serpents, or dragons, are Haman and I and Haman. And the nations are those nations that combine to destroy the name of the Jews. But as for my nation, this is Israel. even they that cried to Elohim, and were delivered. For Yahweh delivered his people, and Yahweh rescued us out of all these calamities. And Elohim wrought such signs and great wonders as have not been done among the nations. Therefore did he ordain 2 lots, one for the people of Elohim, and one for all the other nations. And these 2 lots came for an appointed season, and for a day of judgment before Elohim, and for all the nations. And Elohim remembered his people, and vindicated his inheritance. And they shall observe these days in the month of the 12th month, on the 14th and the 15th day of the month, with an assembly, and joy and gladness before Elohim, throughout their generations, forever among his people Israel. In the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemy and Cleopatra, Dositheus, who said that he was a priest and a Levite, and Ptolemy his son, brought in the published letter of Purim, which they said existed, in which Lysimachus, the son of Ptolemy, who was in Jerusalem, had interpreted. And that, brothers and sisters, is the end of the book of Esther. However, there's a couple things I want to go over. Give me just a minute. I want to read. Take this off. It's kind of annoying. I want to read one more little passage for you. It is from Psalm 18. Actually, there's a couple passages I want to read. So we saw again how the people were destined to die, and they trusted the Most High and were delivered. Let's see this here. Revelation 2:26 through 27. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I receive in my Father. So the person that overcomes and keeps his Torah until the end, to him he will give power over the nations. He will exalt them to royalty. If you've got power over the nations, you're a king. Isaiah 61. The Spirit of Yahweh Eloheinu is upon me, because Yahweh hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh, and the day of vengeance of our Elohim, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he might be glorified. They shall build the old wastes, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But ye shall be named the priests of Yahweh. Men shall call you the ministers of our Elohim. Ye shall eat the riches of the nations, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. For your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. For I, Yahweh, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering, and I will direct their work in truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the nations, and their offspring among the people, and all that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which Yahweh has blessed. I will greatly rejoice in Yahweh. My soul shall be joyful in my Elohim, for he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causeth the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so Yahweh Eloheinu will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. So, just a quick word of encouragement for those that, those that are His. They will be exalted. They will be given the oil of joy for their mourning. They will be comforted. They will be planted, established in righteousness. The people of the nations will serve them. Daniel 7:23-27. For thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. This is Rome. Long story short, this is Rome. And Rome has not gone away. Rome has come back. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and he shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and to think to change times and laws they have. And they shall be given into his hand until a times, and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, that's coming soon, to consume and to destroy it unto the end, destroying the beast, right? Now listen, and the kingdom and dominion and greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. So when Messiah comes with his reward, which is New Jerusalem, those that are righteous, those that are found worthy, will be able to enter. Open ye the gates, Isaiah 26, open ye the gates for the righteous nation which keepeth the truth, which keepeth his Torah, that they may enter in, right? Those people that will be allowed to enter will rule and reign for 1,000 years. And I imagine he's going to give provinces. I imagine that's what he does. Gives certain provinces a kingdom. It's part of actually the parable of the talents. He's like, you've been faithful in a few things, be ruler over many nations, And last passage I want to read, Psalm 18, amazing passage. And kind of the same thing. You'll see that on this, basically, just to kind of wrap up the story here, on the day of tribulation that's coming, you'll see that the Most High not only delivers his people, but exalts them to royalty, and the nations will serve his people. Psalm 18, I will love thee, O Yahweh, my strength. Yahweh is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my Elohim, my strength, in whom I trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation and my high tower. I will call upon Yahweh, who is worthy to be praised. So shall I be saved from mine enemies. The sorrows of death compassed me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid. Remember, we were talking about that. It's okay to be afraid, but what do we do with that fear? We turn it over to Yahweh, and we trust in him for deliverance. The sorrows of hell compassed me about. The snares of death prevented me. In my distress, I called upon Yahweh. That's where it goes. That's where your fear goes. Cast your cares on him, for he cares for you. And cried unto my Elohim, and he heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even into his ears. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills moved and were shaken, because he was wroth. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils. Imagine what that looks like. And fire out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. He bowed the heavens also and came down. Then darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. He made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. At the brightness that was before him, thick clouds passed, hailstones and coals of fire. Yahweh also thundered in the heavens, and the highest gave his voice, hailstones and coals of fire. If you've ever read the book of Revelation, you'll see the thunderings and lightnings and hail and fire. This is the day of vengeance. This is the day of tribulation, my brothers and sisters. Yea, he sent out his arrows and scattered them, and he shot out lightnings and discomfited them. Then the channels of water were seen, and the foundations of the world were discovered at thy rebuke, O Yahweh, at the blast of the breath of thy nostrils. He sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy and from them which hated me, for they were too strong for me. Isn't that what happened with Mordecai and Esther in the wicked Haman gathering the nations against them? They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but Yahweh was my stay. He brought me forth also into a large place. He delivered me because he delighted in me. Yahweh rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands hath he recompensed me, right? Who can ascend the hill of the Most High? Psalm 24. Who can ascend the hill of the Most High? He that hath clean hands. And not Pharisee clean hands where you got to wash your hands before you eat or else you're defiled. Messiah was like, that's not the cleanness I'm talking about. I'm talking about what you do, right? What do you do with your hands? What are the works what are the works of your life? Are my commandments in your forehead and on your hand, your thoughts and your actions? For I have kept the ways of Yahweh, and have not wickedly departed from my Elohim. For all his judgments were before me, and I did not put away his statutes from me. I was also upright before him, and kept myself from mine iniquity. Therefore hath Yahweh recompensed me according to my righteousness, according to the cleanness of my hands and his eyesight. With the merciful you will show yourself merciful. With an upright man, you will show yourself upright. With the pure, thou wilt show yourself pure. And with the froward, thou wilt show thyself froward. For you will save the afflicted people, but will bring down the high looks. Doesn't that happen? Haman, with the high looks, he was brought down and he saved his afflicted people. That's the whole story of Esther and Purim. For thou wilt light my candle. Yahweh, my Elohim, will enlighten my darkness. For by thee I have run through a troop, and by my Elohim I have leaped over a wall. It's your Joel 2 army. As for Elohim, his way is perfect. The word of Yahweh is tried. He is a buckler to all those that trust in him. For who is Elohim save Yahweh? Or who is a rock save our Elohim? It is Elohim that girdeth me with strength, and maketh my way perfect. He maketh my feet like hinds' feet, and setteth me upon my high places. He teacheth my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. Thou hast also given me the shield of thy salvation, and thy right hand hath holden me up, and thy gentleness hath made me great. Thou hast enlarged my steps under me, that my feet did not slip. I have pursued mine enemies and overtaken them, neither did I turn again till they were consumed. Isn't that what happened, right? When the Jews got revenge, or got vengeance given to them by the Most High. I have wounded them that were not able to rise. They are fallen under my feet. For thou hast girded me with strength unto the battle. Thou hast subdued under me those that rose up against me. Thou hast given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me. They cried, but there was none to save them, even to Yahweh, but he answered them not. Then did I beat them small as the dust before the wind. I did cast them out as the dirt in the streets. Thou hast delivered me from the strivings of the people, and thou hast made me the head of the heathen, the head of the nations. A people whom I have not known shall serve me. As soon as they hear of me, they shall obey me. The strangers shall submit themselves unto me. The strangers shall fade away and be afraid out of their close places. Yahweh liveth, and blessed be my rock. And let the Elohim of my salvation be exalted. It is Elohim that avengeth me, and subdueth the people under me. He delivereth me from mine enemies. Yea, thou liftest me up above those that rise up against me. Thou hast delivered me from the violent man. Therefore will I give thanks unto thee, O Yahweh, among the heathen, and sing praises unto thy name. That's how we're going to end tonight, too. Great deliverance giveth he to his king, and showeth mercy to his anointed, to David, and to his seed forevermore. Hallelujah. So if we can actually end on the same passage that we started with, Sirach chapter 2. So let me ask you a question. Sirach chapter 2, verse 10. Look at the generations of old and see. Did ever any trust in Yahweh and was confounded? Or did any abide in his fear and was forsaken? Or whom did he ever despise that called upon him? Praise be to the Most High, our strength, our rock, our deliverer. And we're going to do a couple things. We're going to pray. We're going to do the priestly blessing. And we're going to sing a couple songs together. So I hope you stay with us. So with that, the study of Purim and Esther has ended. I pray it was a blessing for you, but most importantly, I pray that it was a blessing to the Most High, that his people are gathering together in these last days to love on him by keeping his word and to learn more about him and his son every day and what pleases them. Heavenly Father, O Yahweh, we gather before you in Yahushua's name. We thank you for allowing a platform like this that we can gather together and to study your word and to grow together, and we just pray that you continue to open our eyes and ears that we may understand and that we may be doers and not hearers alone of your Torah. We bless you and thank you for all things that you do for us and all things that you provide, but most importantly for your word that you sent for us. We love you in Yahushua's name. Amen and Shabbat Shalom. So let's do the priestly blessing. We'll do it in Hebrew first and then English. Yevarechecha Yahuwah ve'yishmerecha Ya'er Yahuwah panav elecha v'chuneka Yesa Yahuwah panav elecha veyasem lecha shalom. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, give you shalom. Much love, brothers and sisters. I got actually a couple announcements. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play a couple songs, and then I've got a couple announcements for Passover. We're having a public Passover. We'll talk about that after the songs, so stick with me if you'd like. And then after that, we'll take a quick break and we'll do the Torah portion week 20, which we're actually going to have a pretty in-depth study on the parable of the wise and the foolish virgins. So some things there you may have not seen before. So let's start with, let's see, what song? Well, this is still a work in progress, but let's start with Song of Moshe, actually. Can't go wrong with that. Sing it with me. The words will be on the screen.
I sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahweh is a man of battle, Yahweh is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, it consumed them like stubble. And with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them, they sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahweh, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness, you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled, anguish gripped the inhabitants of Pelasheth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuwah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuwah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the Mikdash, O Yahuwah, which your hands have prepared. Yahweh reigns forever and ever.
You can't ever go wrong with the Song of Moshe, a song of history and a song of prophecy. I love that song. Next song, I'm just going to play a little instrumental for you. I probably won't play the whole song. It's a work in progress. But Brother Jake, as you know, I've teamed up with Brother Jake. He's the... we have a band. It's called Simply Prodigal. He is the vocalist, and I am the stringed instrument guy. So this is actually a song that was inspired from Psalm 18. It's called Flying on a Cherub. And it's going to be all about Yahweh coming down in Psalm 18, as you saw or you heard about just in a second ago. So I won't play a whole lot of it. If you don't like rock, you probably won't like it. So I won't play it long because I know that's not everybody's taste. But and then I want to talk about a little about Passover. For those of you that are interested in doing Passover, we're having a public one. So give me just a moment. Okay, just a little sample of that song. So that's a work in progress. Jake actually has some lyrics he's working on for that song. So that's working. I'm gonna see if we can do an audio capture. It hasn't been working lately. This is a creation song. If you ever go to the homepage, you'll see that I've got certain things pinned, things that I'm working on. So now a new one here is POTV songs. So if you ever want to come here and look at them, so the Song of Creation. This was a lot of fun to do. Let's see if this is working. It's not working, is it? Not working. Oh well, not meant to be. So anyway, so let's talk about Passover. So I'm going to end up probably cutting this part out so that, yeah. Anyways, so that's not on here as a recording forever. So for those of you that are watching live, you'll have an opportunity to join on here if you'd like. I'll probably put one more invite out next week, but still working on this. I'm actually going to put this in the chat if you're interested in doing Passover. Oh yeah, the United in Yah event is next week too. So we're doing a 3-day Passover camp out. It's going to be in Cassville, Missouri, which is southwest Missouri. It's the 14th through the 16th day of the first month of the Hebrew calendar. For the Gregorian calendar, that'll be April 27th through the 29th. There's tent sites and RV/camper spaces. If you want to attend, send an email to mary@hollymary2@gmail.com. And then I've kind of got some things, just some frequently asked questions, rules, things like that. So if you're interested, I think we've got like 30 spots left, I think. I'm not sure. Anyways, so if you're interested, just send Mary an email. She can answer a lot of your questions. A lot of your questions can be answered here on this page. We are going to do some community meals. We're going to obviously do the Passover community meal. We're going to do a community meal on unleavened bread. But it should be a lot of fun. 3 days of camping. Bring your family. Let's have a good time. Let's do a for real Passover to the Most High. So, if you want more information on that, just check out the link I put there in the chat. And yes, so what else?